to be honest.
So
Yeah, so do you want to talk about the Real Madrid news then?
yeah, so there was recently an interview on Sky Sports regarding a close friend of mine spiritually, Gareth Bale, being Welsh and all. I've followed Bale for so long, he started at Southampton, moved to Tottenham, and then I think was it 80 million he got sold for Real Madrid? It was around that mark, wasn't it?
It was something like that, yeah.
But yeah, now he's had a large injury track record, but he's still been able to come on and help Real Madrid in a lot of ways since he's been at the club.
Oh, he's a fabulous player,
And
Gareth Bale. Like I just remember watching that the Champions League final against Liverpool,
yeah, that's
and
spectacular.
that overhead kick is one of the best goals I've seen ever, let alone in the Champions League.
Yeah. So Zidane comes in as the new manager, doesn't really like Gareth Bale's style of play, and then so this means that Bale has pretty much been on the bench for the whole season. For the most part, I think he's had like 8 games or something. He's played 8 games total, but because in this case they kind of wanted to offload him, but not. He had a deal agreed with the CSL. I can't remember what team it was, but on the 11th hour they blocked the deal straight away. So this new move that even Bale said he was looking forward to, it was just cut like that. So he stayed at Real Madrid, and now it's this transfer window now where I hear it every season. Being a Spurs supporter myself, yes, they're negotiating to bring Bale back to the club, and then his agent will come out and say, no, that's not happening. Bale has even said that's not happening. But this particular interview, it was mainly based off the back of him playing for Wales again as part of the Euros, and basically along the lines of how happy he feels playing for Wales again, how he feels more welcome. That's obviously coming off the back of the whole Wales Golf Madrid controversy, which was a blatant fire back of the fans for criticisms against him. He said a lot of that stuff. He was nothing about golf. Sorry to say, I suppose for people who are interested in golf. And they did ask him about moving back to the Premier League and things like that, and he didn't say no. What he pretty much said was that's up for Real Madrid to decide, the people who negotiate the deals and stuff. So it's not saying that he'll never return to the Premier League, but it's saying like he doesn't want to think about where he's going to go too much. If he sees something he likes, he'll try it out. I think his priorities seem that he's on Wales at the moment. But from what I've seen, just from them blocking that transfer and then not letting him play, and the fact that when he was playing for Wales yesterday, he seemed just so rusty that even though Ryan Giggs came out and said that the decision to sub Bale off in 45 minutes was a pre-planned thing because Giggs knew that Bale hadn't played a lot since then, whereas what's his name has blah 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 blah. Bear with me a second.
Well,
Harry Wilson.
football managers have a funny habit of just keeping the real issues behind players in the dark.
Mm,
It's like, what the hell is going on with Özil?
yeah,
I hate to keep bringing it back to Özil, but
he's a hot topic all the time though,
it's
isn't
a
he?
similar situation with Bale. It's like, why, you know, he with Özil last season, there was all this stuff coming out about how he had a bad back and he was missing so many fixtures because of it. And then the next minute, it's like, oh, it's not because he's got a bad back; it's because him and Arteta are falling out. It's like, why are you keeping us in the dark here? Like, what is the hidden agenda
Hmm.
with Özil that we all seem to be missing? But then, like, I guess Real Madrid are kind of doing they're just a funny club, aren't they? Real Madrid. We have MS Winfield in the chat. Hi, mate. From Mosh Talks.
Ah,
Who
hi MS.
says
I was wondering where you're from.
he saw a stat that Chelsea have spent the exact same money there to receive for Hazard,
Hmm. Okay, because
and that's crazy
it
to
is.
me.
Because how much
That
was
this
Hazard
amount of
again?
money
Was he like
exists in football.
he was around like 120 million, wasn't he, Hazard?
Something like that, yeah. So no wonder Chelsea are signing all these superstars just from the Hazard deal alone. And they're getting, you
Mm.
know, getting their money's worth,
Chelsea,
literally.
Chelsea, Manu, all those kinds of clubs, they're good at bringing in those future stars and being able to sell them off. But then again, there's a lot of clubs like that in the Premier League, and I think one of the only clubs that is able to kind of let people stay in the Premier League and like not want to go anywhere else is probably clubs like Man City and those clubs where they can actually afford higher wages for their players. Essentially,
I mean, we haven't been particularly smart with our money
Mm,
over the last few seasons, and I was going to bring to segue into the other news that I had, but are you finished with your Bale stuff?
pretty much, yeah. It's just pretty much like F you Zidane. Yeah.
Fu Zidane.
Do not
And
F
on
with
that note,
Wales.
yeah, and on that note, talking about Arsenal not being very smart with our money, we bring to you Alexis Sanchez,
Ah.
and the conclusion, if you like, of one of the worst swap deals in football history, if not the worst swap deal in football history, where both sides of the party have come out the other side worse as a result of signing these players. Mkhitaryan has, I should preface this by saying Mkhitaryan has finally gone to Roma on a permanent basis. So we've actually got rid of him now.
Good.
And it's a shame with Mkhitaryan, because I remember I was at his debut at the Emirates and he looked like a player. We felt like we could get more out of him than
Mm.
we could when he was at Man United. He still had that magnificent scorpion kick goal
Yeah.
when he played for Man United, but he did very little else of note, I would say.
How who would you say had the better performance out of the swap deal? Sanchez at Manu or Mkhitaryan at Arsenal?
I mean, neither came off particularly well. I feel like Sanchez may have won the Europa League with Man United. I could be wrong
Um,
when he was there, or that might have been the season before.
could have been. I'm not too sure. So he's
Whatever way you sugarcoat it, like both sets of deals have come off really badly. And the big news this week from the Alexis Sanchez camp is that he actually he went to Man United a few years ago, not stalling at all, trying to get this tab open. Come on, yeah.
But wasn't it he went to Man United and at the first training session he was like, I don't want to play for this club.
Here we go. Yeah, so I'm reading this from The Guardian, right? He says he wanted to leave after the first training session.
Yeah.
He said that something did not sit right with him and he feels like he was a scapegoat for the club's failure.
Yeah. Well, I think plenty of Man United fans blame Ed Wood to begin with for a lot of things in terms of that. I mean, you only have to point to the Harry Maguire deal for that, in a sense. But that's just Manu have they have the finances behind it, but I don't think they spend their money wisely. If I'm honest, I think the Bruno Fernandes one is a rare occurrence in a lot of the other deals they've made because
well, as much I think their Man United players are kind of known more for their humanitarian efforts and their philanthropy.
Yes.
Now, Marcus Rashford than they are actually their performances on the pitch.
Yeah, exactly.
So just speaking about the Alexis Sanchez situation, he scored 5 goals in 45 appearances, which is a really bad return,
God, yeah.
for a player who basically, him and Ozil, when they played for us, they did some serious damage together.
That's worse than
And
Joe
arguably,
Linton.
you could feel like that was the last time Ozil was worth his salt, was
not.
when he was playing with Alexis Sanchez.
Yeah, that's
They had a synergy which allowed us to play lovely free-form attacking football, scored some great goals, pass and move,
Yeah.
Jose, coming back to Jose Mourinho, the old devil.
Actually, he
brought him into Man
sorry,
United.
just to cut you off a second. In the documentary, he said his name is Jose. Jose,
Oh,
and not
Jose.
Jose.
Okay.
That's Argentinian. Jose.
I'm so sorry. I have nothing to say. Oh god, I hate him so much.
Oh, not you
Right.
too. I love
So
him. I
sorry,
love him.
sorry, Jose, but he was loaned to Inter Milan last season, and he
Yeah.
finally joined them on a free this summer. He said he wants to tell you about his period at United, how many things were said that made me look bad. He had the opportunity to go to United. It seemed tempting to him. It was something nice for me because when I was a kid, I liked that club a lot. Funnily enough, Robin van Persie situation, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, yes.
He ended up signing without much information about what was actually happening in the move, and he said that sometimes there are things you do not realize until you arrive. And he said the first training session, he realized many things. He came home after the first training sessions, told his representative, "Can the contract be terminated so I can return to Arsenal?" And they started laughing, apparently.
Wow.
So, I mean, it just goes to show what an absolute shit show that move really was for him.
Like,
And I like Alexis Sanchez. I think he was a quality player for us. He showed a determination. There was the whole thing when he was at Arsenal was that he'd spend more time in the gym on his off hours than going out to nightclubs and things just to improve his game. And I that really sat well with me. I was a fan from the moment I found that out.
yeah.
And then kind of near the tail end of his Arsenal career, you could tell that he was being a bit of a moody bugger, and he was just sitting in the stands. I remember after we got thrashed by Liverpool, he was sat off and just sitting in the stands, just had a massive sulk. So you could tell he was facing his sort of death knell at Arsenal after that moment. But it's sad, really, what happened to him. Really, he
Yeah.
I don't think anyone will really remember him as a top quality Premier League player just because his United move was so catastrophic.
Yeah. It's kind of like it was kind of like a situation with Michael Owen in a sense with the whole Liverpool to Man U thing, but we won't go there
Well,
either.
that wasn't. Well, in fairness, that wasn't directly to Man United. He went to Real Madrid and
Yeah.
then Newcastle, and Newcastle
Yeah.
was just injured all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and then inexplicably signed for Man United.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember that summer, and he scored the winner in the Manchester derby. But
Because
we can go on
it's
about
always the thing,
BT
isn't it?
Sport. I've had enough talking about BT Sport after Steve McManaman and Darren Fletcher, quite frankly. So, yeah, that's the Sanchez deal.